Hello everyone. This is the 15th part of the story, I'm Voldemort. Chapter 118 Party. In the extravagant ballroom of Rosier Manor, lords, ladies, government officials, and their extended families packed the room to max capacity. Elves sifted through the crowd carrying trays and serving refreshments to all guests. The room is filled with voices as everyone is mingling with those around them. Groups form as people herd to their respective crowds. Some noticed that the large majority of those attending were Slytherins. Although it was slightly suspicious, they just thought it was the bias of the Rosiers towards the house they were sorted in. When everyone settled in and partook in the refreshments, Lord and Lady Rosier climbed the stairs to the balcony and clinked their wine glasses, drawing everyone's attention. I would like to thank everyone for attending our party on such short notice. Lady Rosier addresses the crowd. As you all know, Dark Lord Gellert Grindelwald was slain only a few days ago. This party is held in celebration of that man that did the deed. Without further ado, please welcome Heir Slytherin, Thomas Riddle. As soon as she announces Tom's name along with his Slytherin heirship, gasps could be heard from the crowd as the double doors on the balcony swung open. Lady and Lord Rosier descended the stairs, as Tom and Druella stepped on the balcony and took their place. Druella in her red ball gown and perfect makeup, and Tom in his slim-fit black tuxedo. As they stood on the balcony, Tom placed his hands on the railing, subtly showing off his Slytherin heir ring. From this distance, the crowd couldn't see the ring very well, but they could at least tell that it's either an heir or lord ring. Since the bomb of Tom's lordship was dropped, the room became loud as everyone started muttering amongst one another. "Quiet down!" Tom exclaimed, and the room descended back into silence. "Thank you. Secure the room, please." Tom calls, and one of his followers jumps into action. Suddenly, the children and recent graduates of House Slytherin whipped out their wands and took their places around the ballroom. Fathers and mothers watched their children follow Heir Slytherin's orders in shock. They were truly surprised at this turn of events. No one moved as the room was secured with all exits blocked. The surrounded guests pulled out their wands and prepared for any possible attacks. Mothers and fathers yelled at their children to stop what they're doing and holster their wands. "Settle down," Tom yells as his followers point their wand at the crowd menacingly. The crowd turns quiet once again, and Tom continues. "As you've heard, I'm Heir Slytherin. I've known this for a while and have been laying low to build my strength. That plan went out the window when I decided to kill Gellert Grindelwald, so here we are," Tom says as he opens his arms wide. The room stays silent as those that had some insight started to put the puzzle pieces together. All of the Slytherin alumni finally understood that the Salazar Slytherin portrait doesn't exist. They were fooled by Heir Slytherin, so he could lay low and consolidate his power. Every one of them turned their gazes towards the Rosier and Prince couples that lied to them. They now know that both have been serving Heir Slytherin for a while now. Neither couple looked ashamed by their lies either, and why would they? Their bets paid off with a lord that killed the strongest dark wizard to appear in a very long time. Some of the crowd became alarmed and tried to apparate away, but the wards of the house kicked in and stopped them. Now, as everyone can see, all of the Slytherins of Hogwarts since my 3rd year have sworn oaths of loyalty to me, Tom says, gesturing to the armed Slytherins surrounding their families. "While I didn't want to bring the rest of you into the fold so early, many of you started asking questions and looking into my background." Tom continues. "As some of you have noticed, the wards have activated and there will be no escape. I give you all 2 options, as I did my current followers. 1. Swear your loyalty to me, and we can continue with tonight's activities. 2. Challenge me to a one-on-one duel. If you win, I'll gladly let you leave here unscathed." Tom thinks for a moment with his hand to his chin. You know, there's a third option as well. You could not take my offer and this ballroom will turn into a war zone. As Tom announces their options, everyone looked around the room warily. Upon hearing the third option, many of the people looked to the young children that haven't attended Hogwarts yet. Their mothers and fathers shielding them as they cower behind them. How could we possibly beat you in a duel? You fought and beat Grindelwald himself. We wouldn't stand a chance. It isn't fair. Some of the crowd started voicing complaints. It's not fair? What are you? Children? Life isn't fair. If you didn't want to be in this position, then you should have become stronger when you had the chance. That's the problem with our society. Just because you have magic doesn't mean you can be lazy. Raise your hand if you stopped honing your skills in magic after you graduated from Hogwarts. Tom calls and nobody raises their hands. Come on, don't be afraid and raise your hands. After a moment of pause, hands started going up until the large majority of the room had their hands in the air. This is what I'm talking about. You may have the reserves of an adult wizard or witch, but many of you still have the skills of a Hogwarts graduate. Truly disappointing. Tom says with a shake of his head. Quickly, everyone pulled their hands down in embarrassment. It feels like they were all scolded by their parents. My followers have been learning from me since their second year of Hogwarts. Many of them could easily wipe the floor with all of you, and those that have graduated have not slacked in their training either. At least, they better not have been. As Tom says this, all of his graduated followers around the room feel a chill crawl up their spines. Anyway, I have many plans for our world. A lot will change and hopefully for the better. Now, those that want to take the first option step forward and make your oaths. Chapter 119 Lord Black. Now, those that want to take the first option step forward and make your oaths. Tom calls out and everyone pauses to contemplate their decision. Many of them were afraid of what the crowd would do if they were to step forward and take the first option. They looked around them to see what those around them would choose. Don't be afraid. Those that swear oaths will be placed under my protection for the remainder of the night. Tom announces and a black-haired man with gray eyes steps forward. As he exits the crowd, everyone gasps in shock and mutters among themselves. They didn't expect that this man would be the first to step out. Let alone to step out at all. The man falls to his knees and looks up at Tom on the balcony. He could see the situation they were in, especially when members of his own household turned against him. Before I make the oath, I have a question. The man says as he looks at Tom curiously. Yes? Tom nods for him to continue. Are you truly a Muggleborn? He voices the question everyone was too afraid to ask. Everyone in the room listens closely for this answer as it could change their future choices. I'm a half-blood. My mother was a pure-blood witch and my father was a Muggle. Both are deceased. Tom answers truthfully. I see. The man lowers his head in contemplation. Whispers spread amongst the crowd as he ponders his choice. Some in the crowd look up at Tom in disgust for his Muggle father. After a moment of thought, the gray-eyed man stares up at Tom with his mind made up. I, Lord Sirius Octavian Black, swear loyalty to my Lord Heir Slytherin, Thomas Riddle. As his humble servant, I will act as his sword, wand, and shield when need, provide counsel when necessary, and keep his secrets even in death. I swear this oath on my life, should I knowingly break it. Lord Black says as he stares straight into Tom's eyes. Sirius must have been named after him. Tom thought as he eyes the young Lord Black. Gasps could be heard as the lord of the most prominent dark family just did something truly unexpected. After his oath was made, Lord Black turned and nodded towards his family members. Every single member of House Black stepped forward and swore the same oath as Sirius. Very smart, adding heir Slytherin to the oath. If I wasn't truly heir Slytherin, the oath wouldn't have worked and he could expose me. Too bad that the oath went through. Tom thought as he smiles down at the Black family. Thank you, Lord Black. You and your family may take your place among my followers. Yes, my lord. Sirius bows and moves to the side of the room with his family, drawing their wands and aiming at the crowd they were once a part of. Due to the shocking turn of events, everyone in the crowd was muttering about Lord Black. Some of them want to follow his lead and others calling him a spineless traitor. Hearing these people, the Black family simply turns their noses upward in contempt. These people were those that would sell their daughters to House Black just to brag about the familial connection. Now they want to start badmouthing them. Truly disgusting. I don't have all night, so those that want to follow in the footsteps of Lord Black and his family, please step forward and swear your oaths. Tom says, and the floodgates open. A large amount of the crowd steps forward and kneels in Tom's direction, showing the sway the Black family wields over other houses. One by one the tidal wave of wizards and witches start making oaths. All of them similar to the one that Lord Black made. When they were finished, some of the parents were still hiding their children behind them. Thank you all for your oaths, but I'm going to say something some of you may not like. Although I don't want to drag young children into our business, I can't have them running their mouths about today's events. Tom says as the parents shield their children with worried expressions. As a kind lord, I give you parents with young children two options. Either have your kids swear the same oaths as you, or I can obliviate them at the end of the night. Though, they will swear oaths to me later in their lives. I'll give you all until the end of the night to make your decisions. Tom says and ushered his new followers to take their place at the side of the room. Many of the parents were scared for their children and that energy was being picked up by the kids. They didn't fully understand what was happening, but they could tell their parents weren't acting right. The remainder of the crowd was fairly small in comparison to before. Those that were left behind were the extreme blood purists. They would never submit to a half-blood. Each of them has a strong resolve to stand by their beliefs, even in death. I see the rest of you wish to take the second option. Am I correct? I doubt you want to take the third now. Tom says and gestures to his bolstered number of followers. If they were intimidated before, now they are quaking in their boots at the number of enemies surrounding them. Many of them nod and voice their agreement to Tom's words. Good, let's get the dueling area set up then. Tom says as he descends the stairs with Dorella on his arm. Make room, please. As everyone steps back, Tom draws the Elder Wand and conjures fire, making a large circle around him and Dorella. We'll duel one by one until no challengers remain. If you're knocked out, unable to continue, give up, or step out of the flaming circle, you lose. Tom says and Dorella whispers something in his ear. Yeah, if you want to, sure. Yes, you didn't let me fight Grindelwald with you, so this is my chance to stretch my legs a bit. Dorella says confidently. Okay. Tom nods and addressed the challengers. Dorella wants to fight you guys, so she'll be taking my place. The rules are the same and the deal remains. Beat her and you can leave this manor unscathed without swearing any oaths. Tom says as he steps out of the circle, leaving Dorella inside. Hearing Tom say this, every challenger is elated. They were prepared to die at the half-blood's hands, but now they actually have a chance at winning. At least they think they have a chance. Chapter 120 Future Plans. In a ballroom filled with sharply dressed wizards, a duel could be seen taking place in a flaming circle. The duel is between a fat man and a beautiful red-haired girl with green eyes. Although the girl seemed to be hampered down by her red ball gown, she was handling her opponent with relative ease. This beautiful girl is obviously Dorella Rosier. This is her second match and she's already won the first one. On one side of the ballroom stood a small group of those that refused to bend the knee to Tom Riddle, while the other side of the room is packed with Tom's followers, new and old. While Druella is dispatching all challengers, Tom walks over to one of his newer followers. Lord Black, I was happily surprised by your quick decision-making, Tom says as he walks up to the Black family. My lord. They greet in unison. I could see which way the wind was blowing, and when it comes to jumping bandwagons, it's best to get on as early as possible, Sirius says as he watches the duel intently. Very true, Tom comments as he looks over and sees Orion Black. Hey, Orion. How have you been? I've been well, my lord, Orion says with a bit of well-hidden regret. If I had stayed close to Tom from the beginning, my standing with him would have been as good as Druella. Well, maybe not as good. They do seem very close lately. Behind Orion, Tom could see young Walburga Black eyeing him with a dreamy look on her face. Hopefully, Druella doesn't see her acting like this, or else she may freak out, Tom thought as he ignored Walburga. Are you sure the young Rosier can handle so many duels in one day? Lord Black asks as Druella tortures her opponent into giving up, though she does seem to handle herself very well. Drew is the second strongest person in this room. I've been training her personally since our first year, Tom says as he watches her next opponent enter the ring of fire. She could beat all of them at once with a hand tied behind her back. If what you say is true, then I worried for nothing. So, what are your plans now? Lord Black asks and everyone nearby listens closely. I have many plans now that I've expanded my power base. If I had to give you one major one, then I'd have to say taking over the Ministry of Magic, Tom says offhandedly. Many that hear his words stood rooted to the ground with their mouths wide open. They knew accomplishing such a feat would be difficult and bloody. You wish to start another war so soon? Lord Black asks disapprovingly. Huh? No, I have no plans for war. Tom waves his hand dismissively. Then how will you take over the ministry? Lord Black asks. What is the way anyone could take over the ministry? Through elections, of course, Tom says as if it were the simplest option. I see, you're going to use your new fame to run for Minister of Magic? Although, you'll have to wait until you graduate, Lord Black says as Tom is too young to run for a public office. Who says that I have to be the minister to take over the government? I have many followers that could do the job in my stead. With a glowing recommendation from Tom Riddle, the future Order of Merlin, First Class and possible Grand Sorcerer, I think many of the populace would throw their vote to just about anyone, Tom says as a spark of ambition shines in Lord Sirius Black's eyes. He wanted to be the Minister of Magic, but the populace didn't trust one of the darker families to cast their votes his way. He's run for 2 consecutive times and lost at every turn. Lord Black wasn't the only one with a rise in ambition. Everyone in hearing range heard Tom's words and imagined themselves as Minister of Magic. Although, Tom would be calling the shots behind the scenes, of course. Even then, I can't take over the entire government with just the minister's office. We do have checks and balances after all. Though, that's one of the reasons I have gathered so many followers, Tom says as Druella decimates yet another pure-blood extremist. You're going to fill as many high-level government positions with us, aren't you? Lord Black asks as everyone close by salivates at the opportunity before them. If they aren't chosen to become Minister of Magic, then they could become the Chief Warlock of the Wisengamot, and if that doesn't work out, then maybe the position as head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement is available? The list goes on and on. Many that heard Tom's plans became excited and happy that they swore loyalty to him. They aren't fully content yet, as Tom could turn out to be a tyrant, but in time they will see that they made the right choice. Exactly. I see no reason to spill blood over something that's so easily attainable. An empire built on death and blood will fall, at least the majority of the time. There's always an exception to every rule, after all. Tom explains as he watches Druella take down her second-to-last opponent. Wise words, my lord. Lord Black says with a bit of admiration. How do you feel about your ancestors' beliefs? He then drops the major question. You mean pure-blood beliefs, right? Tom clarifies. Yes. He nods. I find it nonsensical, but I do understand it from Salazar's perspective. Tom says, and everyone's ears perk up. I mean, in his time it was very smart to not trust muggles and muggleborns. Witches and wizards were being hunted and killed before they even had a chance to learn about their gifts. Muggles either looked the other way or participated. Then you have these muggle-born students coming to Hogwarts in the early days, and these kids have been told all their life that those with magic are evil spawns of the devil. As Tom speaks, many of the wizards and witches nearby were captivated. They were hearing what it was truly like back in the times of the founders. I'm sure many muggleborns betrayed our kind to the church countless times. That was probably why he voiced his views against them so vehemently. He didn't want the children of Hogwarts to be endangered by those that could or would betray them. As Tom finishes, Orion blurts out a question. Then why did you say it's nonsensical? If everything you've said is true, our argument against muggleborns only grows stronger. As he says this, Tom just looks at him as if he were the dumbest person in the room. Because that was hundreds of years ago. Times have changed drastically. Maybe not in our society, but the muggles are evolving very quickly. The church doesn't have that sort of sway anymore, and when that was happening, Hogwarts had just opened its doors. Do you think some weak muggles without firearms could take on any Hogwarts graduate now? I don't think so. Tom shakes his head. They only had it so easy because almost every wizard and witch wasn't taught to wield their magic properly. Let's not forget that the majority of those killed by the church were muggleborn. Just because they were born from their own kind doesn't mean they would show the devil spawns any more mercy than the rest of us. Muggleborns are a very crucial part of our society. They bring in new ideas and innovations. Those that were born in this world are used to magic, but not muggleborns. They see magic in a new light compared to the rest of us. We can't just shun them as you wish. Chapter 121, Party End. When Druella finished demolishing her last opponent, she casually walked out of the flaming circle to take her place beside Tom. Although she just fought about 30 wizards back to back, Druella looks just as she did when they arrived on the balcony. Her makeup is perfect and her dress is in pristine condition. Contrasting Druella's unblemished look, the group she just fought wasn't looking good. Many were unconscious and covered in cuts and bruises. No doubt many of them would need medical treatment. Those that were awake were collapsed on the floor moaning and crying in pain. As she arrived by Tom's side, she could see everyone around Tom in deep contemplation. She could tell that Tom must have given them something to think about. I'm finished, but they still need to swear their oaths. Druella's arrival breaks everyone from their thoughtful stupor. Everyone looks over at the piles of bodies that Druella left in her wake. They would feel pity for them, but they were all given a choice. It's not their fault that these people made the wrong decision. Good, let's go wake them up and take care of the oaths. Then we can continue the party with what little time that's remaining. Tom says as he walks over to the downed challengers with Druella following closely behind. First, he started with those that were conscious enough to make the oath. Once they were finished, Tom and Druella used the Renervate spell to wake up the rest. After they finished getting the oaths, Tom had some followers that specialize in healing cart away the injured for treatment. With everything finished, Tom turned to his followers. Well, that went faster than I expected, so let's enjoy the festivities. The Rosiers went through the trouble to throw this party for me, so we might as well enjoy it as we were meant to. Tom announces, and everyone's mood becomes a bit less strained. It was no trouble at all, my lord. Lady Rosier voices with a happy smile. Nonsense, you threw this party with only 2 days of notice. I would say that took at least a bit of trouble. Although I must admit, I've never attended a party like this, so I'm unsure of what to do with myself. Tom laughs awkwardly as he scratches the back of his head. Many of the crowd smile at Tom's behavior. They could all remember when they were young and their parents dragged them to their first ball, party, etc. They felt the same way as their new lord back then. Just stick with me. I've been forced to attend a few of these types of things. Druilla hooks herself around Tom's arm. That'll work. Tom smirks and looks over at Lord and Lady Rosier for them to continue hosting the party. It's not quite time for the banquet, so why don't you all mingle? Those that wish to join me and my husband for the opening waltz, please gather at the center of the room. Lady Rosier says as she waves her wand. On the stage below the balcony, a bunch of instruments come to life. They start floating and playing by themselves. Lady Rosier then drags her unwilling husband to the middle of the room, and they start gliding along the floor in perfect rhythm. Soon, others join them on the dance floor. Tom turns his head and sees Druilla looking at him with what can only be described as sad puppy eyes. All right, fine. I've practiced dancing a bit, as I've studied wizarding etiquette, but I've never had a dance partner before. If I step on your feet, I don't want to hear a single complaint. You've been warned. Tom warns, but Druilla ignores it and drags him to the center of the room. While Tom was dancing as carefully as possible with Druilla, everyone was gossiping about what Tom said earlier. Those that weren't in hearing range were learning of Tom's plans and beliefs. Many were happy about his plan for the government but also conflicted about his beliefs. They've been taught all of their lives about the pure blood way. It's going to take a bit more than one speech for them to change their views and ideals. Although his followers weren't fully convinced, a small seed of doubt was planted. That seed would grow with time, and they will hopefully see things the way they are, instead of the way they were taught. As Tom and Druilla clumsily glide along the dance floor, Tom has been trying his best not to stomp on her feet. He hasn't made that mistake yet, but his overcautious dancing made them look very uncoordinated on the dance floor. When the song came to an end, Druilla gave Tom a peck on the cheek. See, you didn't step on my toes a single time. Druilla smiles as they exit the dance floor. Well, we can thank our luck, I guess. Tom comments. As they stroll around the ballroom, Tom is bombarded by the guests. Many that wanted to get in the good graces of their new lord came to introduce themselves. Others came to ask questions of him as they want to know more about him. A thick crowd of guests surrounds Tom and Druilla, as they try their best to be cordial to each person. Although it's fine to rule with an iron fist, Tom needs to show his followers that he's an approachable person as well. If he ignored them and treated them badly all the time, they could become unhappy and unmotivated. He can't have his future plans messed up because the one executing them was unmotivated. Attention please. Lord Rosier yells from the balcony and the room becomes silent. Rosier's to the rescue. I don't know how many more questions I could take. Tom thought as he looked to the balcony. The banquet is prepared. Everyone please find a table and take a seat. Lady Rosier announces and turns her gaze towards Tom and Druilla. My lord, please take your seat on the stage. The stage that was once filled with instruments now has a table for him and Druilla. Everyone reluctantly breaks away from Tom and finds a table to sit at. Tom and Druella climb the stage and take their seats as well. As the food arrives, Tom stands and taps his glass to draw everyone's attention. "Before we all dig in, I'd like to quickly say something," Tom says, and everyone gives him their undivided attention. "I've been working hard on this for years and I'm happy to see everything I'm building come together. To the followers that have been with me for many years now, I thank you for serving me loyally all this time, and to the newer members, I welcome you with open arms. I hate long speeches, so that's where it ends. Everyone enjoy your meals, and thank the Rosiers for putting this together." Chapter 122 Dream. Once everyone ate and the party came to a close, Tom gave all of his new followers the mark. As everyone left, a few of his new followers stayed behind. These were the people with children that have to make a choice. Either have their children swear the oath or Tom gets to obliviate them. He doesn't really care which of the choices the parents choose, as their children will take the oath sooner or later. Soon, each parent voiced their choice. Every one of them choosing to obliviate their children. Their reason was that they're still young and shouldn't have to worry about keeping oaths, which Tom agreed with. After personally erasing the children's memories of tonight's festivities, Tom saw the remaining guests off as they left via apparition. When all of the guests were finally gone, Tom went looking for Druella and found her in her room, still wearing her ball gown. "Now, I believe you said I could ruin your makeup once the party was over, didn't you?" Tom says as he strolls into the room and stalks his way over to Druella. Aye. Druella stutters as she backs up into the wall. "Don't try to deny it now," Tom says as he corners her and wraps his arms around her waist. I am not denying it," she mutters as she looks down, avoiding Tom's hungry eyes. "That's good then," Tom comments as he grabs her chin, pushing her head upwards. The second their eyes meet, Tom leaned forward and captures her lips. Once again, that all too familiar tingle crawls up Druella's spine. Tom's arm squeezing her frame as her back is pressed into the wall. This kiss is far more passionate than the others. Tom looked over her like a starved beast ready to devour its prey. The passion behind his actions causes Druella's knees to weaken. The only thing keeping her from collapsing was Tom's arms around her and his body firmly pressing her against the wall. Soon, Tom opened his mouth a bit and Druella dazedly followed his motions. A small moan escapes from Druella as Tom's soft lips press her own. After a few minutes, Tom pulls back and releases Druella from his grip. He was slightly out of breath, but Druella was far worse. She was gasping for air as she clung to the wall behind to keep her steady. "Good night, Drew." Tom smirks as he opens a portal and steps through. Druella didn't have the breath to reply as she watched the portal close and Tom disappear. When Tom was gone, Druella slid down the wall and sat on the floor. As her cloudy mind cleared, she could tell that Tom just got one over on her, and resolved herself to somehow get back at him later. As Tom returned to Camartage, he could finally relax. No one was in trouble. There is no impending doom around the corner. Everything that needed to be taken care of has been dealt with. He could finally relax a bit. Before going to bed though, Tom had to take care of something. Looking down, he could see a bulge straining his pants. Maybe I should have spent the night with Druella? Tom thought as he changes out of his tuxedo and jumps into bed. Tonight, he would only have the company of his right hand, or maybe his left. He is ambidextrous after all. As he drifted off to sleep after releasing his tension, the totem necklace around Tom's neck started glowing. Tom appears on the familiar beach he once saw before. As he hears the waves and smells the salty air, he could tell that he was going to meet Manasa once again. Turning toward the water, Tom's met with the beautiful Lamia once again. She smiles as she sees him. Hello, Tom. You arrived quicker than I thought you would, she says as she slithers her way out of the water. Really? It's been a while for me, Tom comments. I'm millions of years old, Tom. A few years is nothing to me, she clarifies. Oh, yeah. So what were we talking about last time? Tom asks. I want you to be my avatar in the mortal world, she reminds him. That's right. You said if I were to accept, I would have to take orders from you when you needed something done in the mortal world. Tom remembers as he doesn't sound happy about it. Yes, but I don't think of it as taking orders. I'm giving you power in exchange for favors down the line. I haven't interacted much with the mortal plane, so I doubt I'll ever need anything done, she says with a shrug. Then why do you want an avatar in the first place? Tom asks. Well, I've been watching you since your arrival and I admire your character. Then I asked Madame Web about you and she said you would make the best avatar for my power. She would know as she has a few avatars across the multiverse. Manasa explains. Who is Madame Web? Tom asks as he's unfamiliar with the name. Does she have anything to do with Spider-Man? She's a friend of mine that serves the Spider God. She helps manage all of the many spider champions and avatars across the multiverse. Manasa explains. She definitely has something to do with Spider-Man. Tom thought as he wondered if Peter Parker actually gets his powers from the Spider God. Are you close with the Spider God? No, he mostly keeps to himself. We could be called amiable acquaintance though, she says with a shrug. What is a champion? Tom asks. It's pretty much a weaker and dumbed-down version of an avatar. They don't have to, as you said, take orders from their patron god though. As she says this, Tom's eyes shine with interest. Before you get too excited, know that I refuse to make you my champion. I will not waste a rare talent, such as yourself, on becoming just a champion. When Tom heard this, his hopes for free power without any strings attached crashed and burned. If I accept and become your avatar, what powers would I get out of it? Tom asks. Sadly, I have no idea what you would get. I've never made someone my avatar before, so this is as new to me as it is to you, Manasa admits. So, I would have to gamble and hope I get something good? Tom asks rhetorically with annoyance in his voice. Yeah, sorry about that. Manasa laughs awkwardly as she apologizes. You know what? Screw it. I'll become your avatar, but I have a condition. If you can't accept it, then I will never become your avatar. This marks the end of part 15 of the story, I'm Voldemort. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe the video to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.